All right, we are live on YouTube. Welcome to another very special episode of Navigating the Modern World with Eli. Glad you could all join me here today. I have another very important show that I'm going to be presenting here today to correct a bunch of things that have been said about me and a whole lot more. So you're going to want to stick around for that. If you're here on the replay, make sure you watch this all the way through because it's going to be definitely worth your time, especially if you've been a part of my network for a long time. And if you know the backstory, that's going to help. If you don't know the backstory, I'll give a little context here in a few. But before we get to all of that, let me first of all make sure that everything is rolling smoothly. Let me check out the back end of YouTube first. Hey, babe, how you doing? I see you in there. 1 minute delay between what I say and what goes out in the in-studio streams. Give me a second here. All right, looks like the back end of YouTube is rolling well. Let me make sure that the notification went out. Looks like it did. And the sound check. Let me see. And a whole lot more. So you're going to want to stick around for that. If you're on the replay, make sure you watch this all the way through because it's going to be definitely worth your time, especially if you've been All right. All is rolling well. What a beautiful day, baby, says my lady in the chat. Hey, Gordo, how are you doing? 1 minute delay between what I say and what goes out. Just letting you folks know. On the in-studio streams, I have that delay in case I need to dump the delay before it goes out to YouTube. It's a safety mechanism. But anyway, all right. The title of today's stream is Court Procedure versus YouTube Optics plus more correcting the record. One more time. The title today is Court Procedure versus YouTube Optics plus more correcting the record. And when I say there's more of the record to correct, I mean there's more of the record to correct because if you aren't aware, 3 months ago, I filed a circuit civil lawsuit against another YouTuber out here. We're just going to call him the defendant. This is someone that I met through YouTube over 8 years ago. And over the last 6 to 8 years, he has been, painting me in a negative light. He always says things about me for the most part, that are opposite of the truth. And he's done that because he built an audience of my haters. What he did was he was religiously following my live streams many years ago, 6, 7 years ago, 8 years ago. And I would ban people that, weren't behaving properly on my channel. I'm not a drama channel. I've never been a drama channel. And I would ban people that were bringing drama that had nothing to do with what I was talking about. And then what he did was he reached out to these people and basically invited them over to his channel. And then he started rebroadcasting my live streams as they were happening live in their entirety. And these people would watch him because he was just saying a bunch of negative things about me. Then he started to paint me as a criminal. And just basically paint me in a false light. I feel he has purposefully done this to maintain that audience. And that's just a little bit of a backstory or a little bit of the backstory so far. There's a lot more, but I wanted to give a very quick synopsis and get right into what I'm here to discuss today. So because of that, after all these years of this guy affecting my reputation out here on YouTube, affecting me from being able to grow, affecting me from being able to earn people's trust because he was getting a lot more traction using my own content and making a lot more money using my own content than I was. And to a certain extent, it's still happening to this day. Not as bad, but it's still happening. And, it got to the point of where I had to take him to court, because if I didn't take him to court, this was never going to stop. And I would never be able to move my vision forward here and my business forward here on YouTube. So that's a little bit of the backstory there. Again, there's a whole lot more, but, that would take forever to go through right here. So I've been correcting the record every time the defendant has gone live and said things about me that are way out of context, or more importantly, even if he has said certain things that are partially true, he's basically only putting out selective aspects that paint him in a better light. And he's not actually putting out the full story. And that's what I'm here to do today. And there are some updates regarding the Circuit Civil case. I'm going to get to those here in just a second. But let me check out the chat here real quick and see what's going on. Gordo says, "Sup, peeps. I did my first live stream today on my channel. It went well. Congratulations. Wonderful, Gordo." "Hey, congrats," says my lady, respectfully, maturely, and professionally, Don DeGordo. "Had a hiccup at the start, but it's to be expected." Yeah, whenever you start off, there are always going to be hiccups. You figure them out, and then you become an expert. Humbly speaking, an expert like me. Been streaming for years, been uploading content to YouTube for years. It's all good. It's all good in the hood. Absolutely, absolutely. Okay. So let's just get to what happened today first, and then we're going to get into talking about what the defendant said about me on his live stream last night and what he left out that is going to complete the sequence and actually share the entire story that he really wishes I wouldn't share. But hey, if, he's going to paint the narrative in a way that makes him look good and makes me look bad, I'm going to correct the record when quite the opposite is the truth. And the truth is proof in past videos and streams along the timeline, even some videos that are no longer even publicly available, on the defendant's end. And I think he knows exactly where I'm going to go with this. Maybe he wishes I didn't go there, but I have to defend my name, my honor, and my reputation. Absolutely. Absolutely. Okay, so I filed this lawsuit 3 months ago in September. The defendant filed a motion to dismiss / anti-SLAPP, and we've been trying to set up a hearing since that time. And the first time we set up the hearing, it wasn't properly done between the both of us because we both didn't understand the court procedure initially, but then we learned the court procedure and that was all good. So initially we had, a hearing scheduled on January 9th, 2026 at 1:30 p.m. Eastern, because the case is in Florida. Even though I'm in California, the defendant is in Florida, so I had to sue him there. It's in his jurisdiction. We had a hearing set for the motion to dismiss / anti-SLAPP at 1:30 p.m. Eastern time. Several weeks ago, this was about 3 or 4 weeks ago, almost a month ago, the judicial assistant for, the judge in this case, Judge Stacy, who's also known as the court is the judge. But whenever, one of the clerks or employees of the court refers to the judge, they refer to the judge as the court. I guess it's a respectful thing. I have respect for the court system. I have a lot of respect for the judicial assistant. I have a lot of respect for Judge Stacy. But to give the judge credit, I'm just going to say Judge Stacy. So basically, the court had a scheduling change. It was a court-initiated scheduling change that affected our January 9th, 2026 hearing. And the court had to cancel all of those afternoon hearings. So what happened? The court canceled the afternoon hearings. And what happens, I've said this before, but I'll say it again because the defendant found out today and people in his group found out today that I was procedurally proper all along. I was procedurally correct. When they were saying, including the defendant, they were saying quite the opposite. But when there's a court-initiated scheduling change, what happens is if there's a morning slot available, even with a different judge, the automated system, the automated scheduling system for the court, it's called JACS, JACS, stands for Judicial Automated Calendaring System. It automatically places you in a time slot that's available, and that is known as a placeholder. I was mentioning this for the past many weeks, right? That this is a placeholder, and the defendant, along with many other people that he, works with in his community to create content with, other people that he acts in concert with, and other people in his audience, they kept saying, oh, January 9th is going to happen, and January 9th is going to end this case, and blah, blah, blah. If you don't show up, blah, blah, blah. Well, here's what happened. The judicial assistant, once the court-initiated scheduling change happened, emailed myself, the defendant, and basically said there's been a court, unfortunately, there's been an unexpected court scheduling change. The case can still be heard with a substitute judge at 9:30 a.m. Eastern. If either one of you can't make it, please let me know, and I will give you dates for the hearing, right? So basically, I was unavailable. I'm unavailable during that time. I made the court aware of that. The court, and there was a couple of times I communicated with the judicial assistant. I'm going to give the shorter version here. But anyway, the second time I was communicating with the judicial assistant, I made them aware that, I'm not available during that time. Can you please give new dates? And she gave me new dates. I reached out to the defendant. The defendant said that, I don't agree to a continuance. And this was not a continuance. He was trying to make this sound like a continuance, even though he knew it was a court-initiated scheduling change, because that's what the email said from the judicial assistant. But to his audience, which apparently he cares more about what his audience thinks about him than doing things procedurally proper through the court and the court case. He was coming off to his audience like, he was trying to paint me as trying to get a continuance. No, this was a court-initiated scheduling change. Okay. Now, so I basically, told him that I'm available on any one of the new dates in March. And he said he doesn't agree to this. And he doesn't agree to continuance. So then I emailed back the judicial assistant. I also filed with the court that I tried to schedule this properly with the defendant. But, he's not being cooperative, right? So when I emailed the judicial assistant after emailing the defendant to try to set up the new hearing date, what happened was, she said that I do not get involved in scheduling disputes or anything like that. That was a standard message, right? So I let it go. And we were given until a certain date, which was a week away from the time I emailed the judicial assistant after the defendant wasn't willing to accept any of the new dates. Okay. So, anyway, hey, welcome, Dunning. It's all good. You can let him stay. So, I waited until a day before, a day before the deadline that the judicial assistant gave us to accept the March dates, right? And I emailed the judicial assistant and I said, this is going to expire tomorrow. I still have not been able to resolve this with the defendant. He's not willing to select a new date. He's saying that he doesn't agree to continuance, even though this is a court-initiated scheduling change. I just want to make sure I stay compliant with the court. Can you please advise what should be done? The judicial assistant got back to me and said that she had to escalate this matter to the court for further assistance or something like that, right? And the court is Judge Stacy, right? At that point, I was like, okay, now this is going to be in Judge Stacy's hands, right? Now, this is the holiday time, and the courts are already backed up. And, during the holiday time, especially or the holiday season, especially during December, they have limited staff. So I knew it was going to take a while for Judge Stacy to review this and to, No. Oh, okay. You didn't realize that, babe. Okay, you unhid him. Dunning, you are unhidden. Now Don knows you're good. Hey, Tia, and Tia says, "Hey, Don and Eli. Hey, or hi, Gordo. 2. 1 minute delay between what I say and what goes out." Okay, so the judicial assistant escalated this to Judge Stacy, aka the court. And it took about, I think it was almost 3 weeks or just under 3 weeks. But today, the defendant and I got an email. And basically, the email said that we need to select a new date because one party is unavailable for the court-initiated scheduling change. New dates will need to be selected. So now, this is... this has been ordered by Judge Stacy. And the 1:30 p.m. hearing in the judicial automated calendaring system has been removed. I got an email confirmation on the removal of the January 9th hearing at 1:30 p.m. In JAX, Judicial Automated Calendaring System. I got that email that it was canceled. I went to the website. It was removed. It's been removed. And the email where we now have to select new dates in April. And because the defendant didn't either understand proper procedure like I did, or just chose to, pretend like he didn't understand for YouTube theatrics and YouTube optics, I think it's a combination of both. I seriously think he doesn't really understand court procedure that well. But I think more so, this has been for YouTube optics and YouTube theatrics. Okay. So, so now, we need to schedule a hearing in April. It could have been done in March had the defendant understood this, or had the defendant, in my opinion, not been more concerned with, what his YouTube audience thinks of him, over doing the right thing for court. But now it's going to be in April. So I'm not going to share the dates here. I can't remember them exactly. Anyway, they're in April. So we're looking at 3.5 months before the motion to dismiss / anti-SLAPP hearing happens. Now we have another hearing scheduled on February 3rd, where if, for example, I'm not saying this is going to happen. For example, if my case was going to be fully dismissed based on the motion to dismiss / anti-SLAPP hearing, there would be no need to have any additional hearings for aspects that involve the regular part of the case, right? When a defendant files a motion to dismiss / anti-SLAPP, that puts a freeze on the case, right? And basically what it does is puts it on hold until there's a hearing to decide if the case, continues or not, right? But the defendant decided to file for another hearing. He filed a few things, sanctions for spoliation of evidence, and also adverse inference, right? So we have a hearing for that, right? And here's what he filed that for. He basically is accusing me of spoiling evidence, meaning, destroying evidence. He said that I removed 200 videos from my channel, and that's spoiling evidence, right? Well, I put those 200 videos, like I said a few months back when this first came up. Like I said, I put those 200 videos to private because I received a community guideline warning on my channel. That was pretty, I'm not going to say what it was for. It was pretty, it should not have been a community guideline, warning, but it was. So after that happened, I decided to protect my channel more so. And, I put, 200 videos to private. I didn't delete them. I put them to private. And then I reached out to the defendant, and I emailed him, and I said, I'm willing to give you whatever videos you want. I have exact copies on my hard drive. I can upload them to my private web hosting server, where you will have a link that you can either stream the link or you can actually download the videos. I'm willing to give you all of the evidence right now. And he got back to me and said, no, I'll let the court handle it, right? Okay. So now, when we go to this hearing, he knows exactly how it's going to go. I offered him the evidence. I even filed his email offering him the evidence in a different way. I filed it with the court, right? It's a part of the court record. And I also filed his response that, he wants to put it in the court's hands. Again, I think he did this for more so for YouTube theatrics and YouTube optics. But now that's done. Now we have a hearing on February 3rd. I think it's a Tuesday, if I remember correctly. We have a hearing on, let me check here. Yeah, Tuesday, February 3rd. I believe it's at 9:30 a.m. Eastern, which is 6:30 a.m. Pacific here in my neck of the woods. Man, it's going to be an early day, but oh well. And so, yeah, we're going to go and we're going to actually have a hearing on a couple of motions he filed on me that won't even matter should his case get fully dismissed, which we know it's not going to happen. I mean, we can't predict the future, but I've got plenty of evidence. I'm very confident that my case will survive, right? But, let's say the hearing actually happened in January for the motion to dismiss / anti-SLAPP, and let's say the whole case was dismissed, right? This is just for example purposes. Then there would be no need to have this February 3rd hearing over a motion that honestly was not filed in good faith, in my opinion. I think it was filed to try to show his YouTube audience that he's the boss and he's got this and he's winning this case and blah, 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 blah. Okay? So that's where we're at. We're going to have a hearing on February 3rd at 9:30 a.m. Eastern, Tuesday, February 3rd, regarding his motion for sanctions, like, a spoliation of evidence and adverse inference. And, I don't think he realizes that spoliation of evidence is completely destroying evidence to the point of where no one can recover it. So let me put it to him this way. If we need to subpoena certain things, like certain videos from YouTube and Google, that can count as evidence. Okay? So where in the law does it say it matters, how I get you evidence, or how, any plaintiff gets any defendant evidence, or vice versa? He did this for YouTube theatrics and YouTube optics. And he's going to start to realize now, as this case proceeds, in my opinion, he's going to start to realize that choosing the YouTube optics and theatrics over doing the right thing in court, he's going to see, what's going to happen. I can't predict the future, but I'm confident within myself. I'm procedurally proper. I've filed everything properly. I have tried to give him everything he wants. I offered him all the evidence. I'm going to tell the judge I was willing to self-host it, give him a link that he can stream it, he can download it. I just needed to protect my channel. Yeah, thank you, Tia. Thank you. That was the right move there. So that is that. All right, we are at 25 minutes. I only want to be on for like an hour and a half max because Don and I have an errand to run, and then we have some other things to do. And by the way, tomorrow is my 52nd birthday, and I'm not sure. I'll probably at least do a Walking with Purpose stream tomorrow here on this channel, GNA2, Genuine Live Personal Development. I'm not sure if Don and I are going to do an On the Couch with Don and Eli tomorrow for my birthday. I'm not quite sure yet. I will update you folks one way or another on this channel here later on today, probably through a community post or otherwise. So anyway, so that is that. So yeah, that's where we're at. I'm going to say one more thing regarding the scheduling change for the anti-slap hearing, motion to dismiss / anti-slap hearing. I mean, right? So now that the defendant and another woman that, he's been acting in concert with to amplify false statements about me, they both on their channels for the last 3+ weeks have been saying that January 9th is happening no matter what, whether I like it or not. And if I don't show up, the defendant's gonna win by default. So are you folks gonna both go live and apologize or correct the record? Or are you just gonna let it slide because it doesn't coincide with what you want to present your audience? Because here's the thing, your audience is watching me right now and hearing the truth, and they know the truth. And they can see the truth because the hearing is not there anymore. The defendant made tons of videos on this, even tons of YouTube shorts on this, right? And they didn't age well, like my buddy ODN said. Same thing with the woman acting in concert. She is a woman that has been coming at me on YouTube for the last 2.5 years. She's tried to intervene in our court case. She's filed documents, motions with the court. And she's tried to set hearings with the judicial assistant, and she's a non-party. She has no status. She would need to file leave of court. She would need to request leave of court and then file a motion to intervene, and the judge would have to approve it. And she hasn't done that. The reason why she hasn't done that is because if she files a motion to intervene, if she gets leave of court and files a motion to intervene, then even if Judge Stacy allows her to become a limited party to the case, at that point she's open to sanctions, she's open to punitive damages, she's open to a protective order, possibly being placed on her, and a whole lot more. She doesn't want to do that. She wants to have all the fun of continuing to attack me, right? To basically keep her YouTube audience around, which is basically the same audience as the defendants. She would rather, not properly intervene, so I can't hold her accountable. So that way she can keep on, like I said, doing all the YouTube theatrics for YouTube optics, and try to get away with it. But anyway, so that's where we're at regarding that. Okay. Now, I'm going to take a break at the 45-minute mark. We are at 29 minutes. I'm going to take a break at the 45-minute mark, and then I'm going to come back for the last 45 minutes. But we still have 15 minutes before my first break here. So here's what I'm going to do now. Okay. Now I'm going to correct the record. Okay. Because like I said, the title of this stream is Court Procedure, which is what I just talked about, versus YouTube optics, plus more correcting the record, right? So now we're going to correct the record again because the defendant continues to spin things out of context He's selectively choosing videos I made in 2024, selectively choosing a certain time period to try to spin a narrative to his audience that there's no justification for me to file this court case. We're going to debunk that here, and you folks are going to, there is evidence of this, but it's not publicly available. But actually, it is publicly available on the court website through my Second Amendment complaint under Exhibit 3. I'll share more about that in a little bit. There's a link there where I'm self-hosting all these videos. Any video that the defendant has taken down, I've got backup copies on my own private server that I've submitted to the court as part of my exhibits. Okay, we'll get to that in a second here. So, yeah, I needed to more so correct the record. I didn't want to talk about this, but he continues to spin things out of context, and it affects me because not only are his people seeing what he's saying about me, other people that are, coming across me for the first time and then coming across his videos as well and seeing that it can and does affect me. So that's why I'm here to correct the record. And when necessary, I will continue to correct the record. So let's start correcting the record, okay? So last night, okay, December 15th, 2025, the day I'm recording this is one day before my 52nd birthday on December 16th, 2025. Last night on December 15th, 2025, the defendant did a live stream and probably talked about me for about 60 to 75% of his hour and a half or hour and 45 minute stream or something like that. I can't remember the exact time, but it was just under 2 hours, right? And he mentioned a lot of things going back a year earlier to December of 2024. Now, I've analyzed this. Yes, I have analyzed it through ChatGPT. I have fed it a lot of information. I have also written this in third person here, and I'm going to present this here to you. There's a lot, so I got to go through it quickly. So what the defendant is doing, and I'm not going to show anything on the screen because I'm just not going to do that. I have my reasons for it, and just listen. It's all good. Listen to this like it's a podcast. Okay. Give me a second here. Hi, Tia says respectfully, maturely, and professionally. So what the defendant is doing on the 12/15/25 stream, the narrative he is trying to change. On the 12/15/25 stream, the defendant repeatedly reaches back to your December 2024 period and tries to use that period as a timeline freeze frame for his audience. So he's trying to narrow his audience view, narrow their scope to December of 2024, and nothing else matters besides December of 2024. But there are things that do matter. We'll get to that. The defendant, sorry, I read that. Okay. The theme is Eli was being really nice to me in 2024, and therefore the current posture, including legal action, is framed as irrational, dishonest, or about control rather than about ongoing harassment / defamation. Okay, that's what he's trying to frame it that way, to his audience for YouTube theatrics and YouTube optics, right? That's what it all boils down to with him, right? He highlights December 2024 statements and interactions as if that period proves that his conduct was not harassment or that you consented to his behavior. None of that is true. None of that is true. He took it way out of context. In other words, he is trying to persuade his current audience that you were fine with him. No, I wasn't fine with him, but this is what I was trying to do. That you were fine with him, you were friendly, and were giving him permission, and that this undercuts your claims now. And it does not. It absolutely does not. And he knows that too, but he wants to, try to preserve that audience. So he felt the need like he had to spin it this way and leave out a whole lot that I'm going to fill in here today. Your point and the key issue is that you were trying to de-escalate in December 2024. I was trying to be nice to him. I was trying to just politely ask him to stop. Even recently, in his previous stream, I believe before this one, or in a video. So it was in a video. Sorry. He made like 3 videos of me earlier this week. In one of his videos, he was saying, you never asked me to stop. I asked you to stop many times over the last 6 years. And every time you told me, F you, I can talk about you all I want. So I can talk about you all I want. I can use as much of your content as I want. It's all fair use. That's what you said, right? That's why we're in court, right? I've tried to settle this with you many times. Every time you've told me F you. So, okay, we're in court, right? So yeah, I was trying to de-escalate in December 2024. You were trying again for the millionth time in the last 6 years to ask him politely to stop. The defendant is not telling his current audience what he did immediately afterwards at the start of the new year on January 3rd, 2025. Sir, you know exactly what stream I'm talking about. You did not present that to your audience. You didn't tell your audience what you did literally the following month, 2 days after the new year. So yeah, at the start of the new year on January 3rd, 2025, where he ramped it back up to re-engage the same Eli hate audience. It is a selectively edited narrative designed to save face in the eyes of his audience. Yeah. That's exactly why you didn't share what happened the next month, maybe a few weeks after the videos you were talking about, right? Why the January 3rd, 2025 stream is a gold mine and what it proves in context. The January 3rd, 2025 stream is the turning point you describe as what pushed you over the edge to file the civil lawsuit. Absolutely. There was a lot of stuff in there, and we're going to get to that. Because it shows that the defendant's de-escalation / moving on narrative is not consistent with his own conduct right after the December 2024 period he now points to, or he pointed to that in his stream last night, right? This January 3rd stream is structured as a coordinated panel event on StreamYard. The defendant plus 4 additional people on the panel. It is not incidental or accidental. It is a themed, planned segment. It was. The segment is framed as a funeral / memorial for you. Oh, Judge Stacy's going to love this. Coach Eli, and it lasts for an extended period. The defendant invites people to come up and give a few words in honor of Coach Eli, and he explicitly asks for expressions of appreciation and what you meant to them. He framed me as I was dead. That's what he did, right? He repeatedly uses the Elias Melas, and that's my full name style in this framing. This is the build-up to the This is the build-up to the slideshow of images. Remember all those images you showed with the actual file names labeled on in your stream. Wow. It is not separate from the it is not separate from the slideshow. It is the funnel into the slideshow. Okay. Let me check out the chat here real quick. All right. People are just listening. Nobody's chatting. Okay. The group panel nature and the acting together pile-on dynamic. The segment is not the defendant alone giving commentary. He is using a group of middle-aged adults in their 30s, 40s, and 50s, behaving erratically, irresponsibly, right? Irrationally on a YouTube live stream, making up stuff about me and putting out these very derogatory memes. We'll get to that, right? So yeah, he's using a group of middle-aged adults on the panel on his show to further harass and defame you. The panelists participate, escalate, and add their own commentary. The defendant repeatedly prompts them and keeps it going. The conversation is a pylon with the defendant leading the structure and the others contributing to the tone. Right. Oh, you remember that stream, defendant? You do. You remember that. The key point is that the defendant is not distancing himself from what is being said or shown. There is no too far moment. There is no I don't endorse that. The segment is structured to keep the pylon rolling and then to transition into the meme slideshow, where the same pylon continues through live reactions and commentary. Pretty good so far, huh? Pretty clear, cut, and dry, I'd say. Let me see here. Let me see. We are at 40 minutes. Okay. The memorial funeral framing and the sustained death imagery. The entire segment is framed around Eli being gone. Funeral, memorial, casket, burial, and similar themes. This is not a single joke line. It is sustained framing that sets the tone for the slideshow and makes the slideshow's tomb. The defendant and casket imagery fit into a single package narrative. The panel jokes about burial methods, a casket dropping into the ocean, and other funeral imagery. This is directly consistent with the memes you describe. Tomb, the defendant, caricature of you in a casket, close-ups of you in the casket. Close-ups of you in the casket. Here lies C-U-C-K Eli. G-R-A-P-E-D instead of the R word, right? Etc. Right? The spoken context and the visuals are one coordinated segment. Absolutely they are. Absolutely. And here's a big part of it. The sexualized humiliation component is explicit and repeated before and during the slideshow segment. The panel engages in explicit sexualized humiliation about you. This includes repeated references to a rainbow dildo and the idea of putting it next to him at a gravesite and similar escalations. This is not presented as criticism. It is humiliation content. It is repeated and escalated by multiple panelists with the defendant facilitating the segment and getting lots of donations for it too. Don't forget that. This is important because it shows that the rainbow dildo theme is not a random isolated meme. It is one of the central repeating humiliation themes used by the group as part of the funeral/memorial narrative. Okay. So right now we're at 42 minutes. I'm gonna step away and take a break right now. So and I'll come back and finish it up. But you folks let me know in the chat what you think while I take a break. I'm gonna queue up some royalty-free YouTube music. It's been a while since I've done this, but I've got my game down. Airtight. Do 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 do. Let me see. Yeah, where is it? All right. Music is all queued up. I'm going to step away for a, like I used to say, a 5 to 6 to 7 or 8 minute break or something like that. I'll be back in another 10 minutes and we'll continue. Stick around. We'll be right back. right, we are back. We are back. We are back live. We are back live. Yeah. Oh, yeah. Yeah. We are just going to scratch it and get right back down to business. Welcome back to Navigating the Modern World with Eli. And it's been a while since I've done one of these shows, and I totally forgot my spiel. But anyway, yeah, welcome back to the show. Navigating the Modern World with Eli, and I'm really glad you could all join me here today. I'm in a really good mood. I'm in a great mood today because tomorrow's my birthday. Today, got some great news. All other aspects are going really well, and that's because I do my very best to try to keep a positive attitude despite what some other people that don't like me on this platform may think. I think it's more so they don't like themselves and they're projecting, but we don't have to keep, going back to that. It's just becoming a known thing. It's just a known thing. But anyway, so let's get right back to it because I've only got another maybe 35 minutes to get through the rest of this, and I think it'll be just enough time. So let me make sure that everything still sounds and looks good. Give me a second here. Navigating the Modern World with Eli, and I'm really glad you can all join me here today. I'm in a really good mood. I'm in a great mood today. All right. All is rolling well. Excuse me. Let's continue here. The slideshow is not neutral. It is adoption and amplification of the memes the defendant announces he is going to do a slideshow and then displays a sequence of memes and images. The slideshow is not just shown without comment. The panel reacts, narrates, elaborates, and continues the ridicule through each image. The defendant is not treating the images as something separate from him. He is hosting, presenting, and using them as content. In your words, meaning my words, he created them or amplified them. So he didn't create all those memes. Some of them he did create, but he's amplifying them. He's showing them on his show. They all are representations of me, my name and my likeness. And, they're just highly derogatory and otherwise. Okay. Either way, the transcript context shows he is using them as on-screen material and turning them into an extended segment for entertainment and engagement. Don't forget about monetization. This is adoption and amplification. Absolutely. It speaks for itself. The meme inventory you described and why it is significant as a pattern, not random jokes. The images you narrated include your hat, the rainbow dildo, a tomb, the defendant, here lies C-U-C-K Eli with the G-R-A-P-E-D word, substituting that as the R word, because he fears that YouTube's filters are going to catch that. And I'll substitute it as well, too. I don't want to take any chances. But I'm using it in the right context to describe something that he's done. Caricatures of you in a casket with the hat and selfie stick, your actual head and headphones placed onto degrading or sexualized imagery, childish, immature, flip-flopper, unstable, mole, over your head, screenshots of chat, and the Roach Eli image, which is the one that, I could still take him to court on because that's the one that I filed a copyright on, and I filed a suit in the Copyright Claims Board on the defendant, and he opted out. You can opt out of those cases. So I mean, I still have plenty of time to take that to federal copyright court if I want, but we're gonna get through this circuit civil case first, and then see where we go from there. So yeah, and the Roach Eli image with your actual head from your professional image, which now I have a copyright on that. I copyrighted that in October of 2024, right? So you don't see people really using that image anymore. They've gotten very careful because I'm protecting myself legally, through the tools our country has given us, right? So yeah, placed over a roach with the file name visible as roach-eli.jpg. You showed the file names on screen. You opened up like a Windows photo viewer browser, and it showed the file name up top. So you've cataloged this for future usage, right? For past and future usage, right? You also described eli-dildo-meme.png as a file name there. Your head with a rainbow dildo in your mouth. You described an image depicting you and Angel in sexualized outfits to depict you as gay men. Titled with a slur, file name Eli dot, and I'm not going to say the F word. It's the derogatory word, for a gay man. I'm not going to say that here, but that's what he titled it. Eli dash the F word .jpg. Oh, that's going to look really, really good to Judge Stacy. You describe Eli-dream-bitch.jpg with your my B word now, and a rainbow above your head. You describe cked-eli.png with it's a woman's last name. I'm not going to say her last name. And then he calls it the woman's last name that starts with A Master Series. How to Train Your CUCK, depicting you bowing down to a woman in gothic sexualized lace. You described Eli-the-rapist.png as a file name. You also described multiple gay couple depictions, including with American Dream Mike, and multiple feminized depictions such as you on Marilyn Monroe with a quote, and other feminizing images. Wow. So in 2024, he boasted in 2024 on his stream last night, okay, on December 15th, 2025. He went back to review some of my streams from December of 2024. And he boasted that, I was trying to go on a panel with him. And yeah, I was trying to go. I was going to go and do a live stream with him to try to get him to back down and move on. I was going to try to have a civil conversation with him, but then he kept amping things up, and I backed off. I said, I'm not going to do this, right? He's trying to make that time sound like me trying to be nice, trying to get him to back off. He's trying to say that, well, he was good with me then. So this court case has no merit. Hey, you could be good to me for 6 years straight and then defame me for a year after that, and it's still defamation. Come on. Your point and the significance is that this is not an isolated one-off. It is a repeated set of themes: humiliation, sexualized imagery, degrading labels, dehumanization, roach, chicken, and explicit, hostile branding, CUCK, BITCH, the R word, and the R word with the IST, the existence of file names, repeated formats, and a slideshow sequence supports your position that this is methodical, calculated, and organized as a content system designed to keep an Eli hate audience engaged. Yeah, exactly. That was the whole point, is to keep that audience around, because when he's not doing that type of content on me, they don't come around as often or at all. And it's been proven over the years many times. Let me check out the chat real quick. Hey, Sandra, how you doing? Hey, Eli. Hi, everyone. I've been here. Wonderful. 1 minute delay between what I say and what goes out. Nice to see a studio stream. Yeah. Well, nice to have you here. Thank you so much. Nice to have you all here. Hey, Sandra says respectfully, maturely, and professionally, Don. And so does Tia. All right. Wonderful. Wonderful. The monetization/commercial usage aspect and why it matters. This segment has explicit donor and fund language. The defendant is soliciting money and praising donors while the Coach Eli funeral/memorial segment is happening or immediately after it. You also stated there was a donation ticker scrolling at the bottom of the video proving commercial usage. Yeah, exactly. Exactly. In the transcript context, the defendant thanks the donor, references adding it to the fund, and then continues into more clips requested by the audience. The key point is that the Eli funeral/memorial segment is not just an insult segment. It is part of a content stream designed for audience engagement and donation activity. Absolutely. I mean, absolutely. I've got nothing more to say about it because it speaks for itself. This supports your synopsis that the defendant used your name and likeness commercially in a structured segment. You did. You did. You did. And, we'll find that out when we go to court. You'll find that out. The contrast between December 2024 de-escalation and January 3rd, 2025 escalation is the entire point the defendant wants his audience to focus on. December 2024. The Eli was nice, Eli consented, Eli was friendly story. The January 3rd, 2025 stream immediately at the New Year shows that the defendant did not move on or de-escalate. He ramped it back up and re-engaged the same Eli hate audience with a large themed group panel memorial/funeral show and an organized meme slideshow with heavy sexualized humiliation and degrading content and with monetization elements. Absolutely. That's why he did it, for the money. And he also likes humiliating me, in my opinion. Okay. That contrast is why you characterize this as a gold mine and why it supports your explanation. Yeah, that stream was a gold mine. And it still is a gold mine. And it's well within the statute of limitations. It happened on January 3rd, 2025. Well within the statute. And it supports my explanation. You did try to de-escalate. He did not stop. It's not the first time. I've always tried to de-escalate over the years. Therefore, you eventually sued. Right. The reason why I sued you is because you never stopped. I asked you many times. I will go through my transcripts. I will find all the clips over the years where I asked you to stop, and we'll create a compilation of that for the court as well. And maybe for YouTube, too, with my own content, I can do that. Absolutely. Why the defendant later placed this exact video to private on Rumble after the lawsuit was filed. Okay. So remember, this channel where this video was hosted was taken down for 3 copyright strikes. Okay. So this stream, and I already had it downloaded anyway. I also got the Rumble copy, which is the same thing. He kept it up on Rumble until around the time where I sued him. And then all of a sudden that clip goes to private. You explained that this January 3rd, 2025 stream was filed as Exhibit 3 of your second amended complaint. I did. So if people, I'm not going to share with you folks exactly where to go. It's public information. But if you want to go to the court portal, it's public information. You can go there and download the file of my second amended complaint and scroll down. It's a 350-something page document. Scroll down to Exhibit 3. You will see the information there. You'll see a link that I've privately hosted with this entire video. You can go through all the exhibits and you'll see all the evidence there. You also stated that you filed copyright on this stream earlier this year on YouTube, then 2 more copyrights on that channel, and the entire channel went down. So this January 3rd video was never reinstated on YouTube. That's true. Then after your case was filed in September 2025, the defendant placed his same exact version on Rumble to private, and I have a screenshot of that too. And the screenshot shows a link of the same exact title of the stream. Still available, it still shows, private with that stream link to this day. And you have a screenshot showing it as private with the link and the title, right? I do. The significance of that in your framing is that the defendant is trying to remove it from existence, at least in the eyes of his audience. Right. He doesn't care about the court, in my opinion. He cares about his audience seeing that, which if they went to the court website, which many of them have gone to, and they went through the whole entire complaint, they would see that, right? But hey, because, they're trying to spin this otherwise, that's why I'm doing this here today, to correct the record, right? In other words, he wants to leverage the friendly December 2024 narrative while hiding the January 3rd, 2025 ramp-up content that contradicts it and explains the lawsuit. Right. So why didn't you talk about January 3rd on your stream last night? It exists. I have multiple copies of it. People can see it if they go to the court portal and go to my Second Amendment complaint, public information. Okay. Why didn't you talk about January 3rd? Because you knew that it would sound contradicting. You selectively choose things that only benefit you, and you leave out more than half the story that would exonerate the person you're talking about and then make you look like the bad guy, right? You want to make me look like the bad guy and you like the good guy. So you selectively choose, what you share and what you leave out, right? I'll fill in the gaps of what you leave out, because I care about my reputation. I do. Okay? This is consistent with save face behavior and whatever suits his narrative. I've been saying that for years. That's all he did last night. And now his entire audience and everyone, including him and other people, are watching me and hearing me share the truth. They know the truth. They all know the truth. Like the people that create content within his group, they already know what I'm saying here. But they're trying to keep their audience around. So they're trying to present a whole new narrative, which is the complete opposite of what's true to their audience, right? Let me check out the chat here real quick. Okay, nothing happening in the chat. Okay. Why this matters to your overall exhibit structure and the judge's view. You noted Exhibit 1. The first exhibit, this is big too, of your Second Amendment complaint shows screenshots of all those memes in separate exhibit form and many more memes that the defendant created or amplified on live streams or community posts. Yeah, he's been doing that for years, but he's done it a lot the last couple of years within the statute of limitations as well. He's re-amplified them. So it resets the clock of the statute of limitations. Your position is that the judge will see the clear pattern. Either the defendant created them or amplified them, and in either case, he adopted and spread the campaign using your name and likeness. Right. He did. That's what he did. This January 3rd stream is important because it is an organized, concentrated example of the pattern with explicit on-stream showing of images, explicit verbal framing, and panel participation. It doesn't get any better than this stream. It doesn't get any better than this stream, which is why it was one of my first 3 exhibits. The first exhibit was all the memes in high quality, right? And then the second one was I believe my copyright certificate that I copyrighted, my image that they've been using in these memes. I submitted that with the court. Okay. Bottom line conclusion from the comparison. Comparing the two, the 12-15-25 stream is the defendant trying to change the narrative by pointing to your December 2024 de-escalation period and presenting it as if it erases the rest of the story. So this guy tried to erase history. The funny thing is, he's been telling me for years, I've been trying to erase history. No, I know I made some mistakes 6 to 7 years ago that he still talks about to this day and amplifies them as if they're worse than they actually were. Okay? And so Yeah, he was trying to rewrite history last night to save face in front of his audience, right? That's funny. Absolutely hilarious, right? The January 3rd, 2025 stream contradicts that narrative by showing that right at the new year, he ramped it back up with a panel-based extended memorial funeral show, an organized meme slideshow, sexualized humiliation and degrading content, and monetization/engagement hooks. Wow. Couldn't have written that better myself. That is why, in your view, he is methodical and calculated. You're methodical and calculated, right? And you knew the risks, but you never thought someone could either A, afford to sue you with an attorney, or B, figure it out to do it on their own. I figured out how to do it on my own. You never thought you would be in this position. So you kept on amping it up over the years, making lots of money. And I got fed up with you destroying my reputation on YouTube. So here's why we're here, right? Okay. So that is why, in your view, he is methodical and calculated, and why he did not tell his audience about the January 3rd video. Well, I just told his audience about it. I'm sure some of them were at that video. But these people like forget about stuff that happened in the past, especially if those videos are no longer publicly available. One, because I took that channel down for copyright. I asserted my copyrights. And two, his backup copies always go to Rumble when he streams on YouTube from his home. He put that one to private because he knew how risky that video was. But I'm sure he knows I have that video. And he's not worried about copyright because he's thinking, I'm not going to copyright him on Rumble. I could copyright a lot of stuff of his on Rumble. But, yeah, I'm not at that point right now. And he's putting things to private, I think, more so for audience preservation and to save face in front of his audience. So let's see here. Timeline clear, text, no fancy formatting. December 2024. Eli is trying to de-escalate and be polite toward the defendant. The defendant later points back to this period to claim Eli was friendly and therefore current claims are invalid. That's what the defendant is trying to lead his audience to believe. January 3rd, 2025, the defendant does a StreamYard live stream with 4 additional people on the panel. He runs a themed Coach Eli funeral/memorial segment. He invites people to give a few words, sustains death/funeral framing, escalates sexualized humiliation, including rainbow dildo talk, and transitions into a slideshow of degrading memes using Eli's hat, likeness, and repeated humiliation themes, donation fund language, and ticker context show commercial usage of Eli's name and likeness. Early 2025, Eli files copyright strikes on the YouTube channel containing the January 3rd stream. After additional copyrights, the entire channel goes down, and the January 3rd video is never reinstated on YouTube. September 2025, Eli files a civil lawsuit. Afterward, the defendant places the same exact January 3rd, 2025 version on Rumble to private. Eli preserves a screenshot showing it as private with the link and title. I've also preserved the entire video, multiple copies. And all the other videos too. October 2025, the I Believe You Embezzled phase begins, not part of the January 3rd, 2025 video. So you tried to incorporate stuff into the 2024 aspect that had not happened yet, right? You cannot sit here and say that I have no case when in 2024 you hadn't even created that I Believe You Embezzled video, and you had talked about, the embezzlement thing in the past, but you really started to ramp up the embezzlement story in 2025 after I did those streams in 2024 that you reviewed on your channel last night, right? So you're all over the place trying to figure out, oh my gosh, how am I going to turn this around and make myself still look good in front of my audience? Oh boy, right? I would love to see how he's going to try to spin this stream here. I would just love to see that. October 2025, the I believe you embezzled phase. I already read that. December 15, 2025, the defendant stream tries to change the narrative by focusing on December 2024 friendliness, permission, de-escalation, while not telling his audience about the January 3rd, 2025 ramp-up content that contradicts his moving on posture. That's it right there. All right. We are at 1 hour and 18 minutes. Got that done a little quicker than I thought, so that's pretty good. Before I wrap this up, okay, you know, at this point right now, you would think in the middle of this circuit civil case, and this is a serious case, it's a real case, you would think the defendant would be trying to de-escalate. You would think the defendant would be telling other known people in his group that also create content within his network similar to his, right? And they all support each other. He would tell them to just cut off the Eli stuff, right? You would think he would tell the sock accounts and other people that are anonymous accounts that I believe are all behind the scenes in his Discord. You would think that he would tell them to just cut the whole Eli thing off. This is getting too risky, and court's right around the corner. You would think he would do that, right? Put a 1 in the chat if you would think that someone in his position would be wise enough to do that instead of continuing to not only double down or triple down, but quadruple down, because he cares more about what his audience thinks about him. He cares more about painting himself as the good guy and me the bad guy, when in essence the other way around. He cares more about having the power, like over myself and other people, and showing his audience that he's above all other creators in his community, and everyone else is beneath him, because everyone else is a piece of crap in his eyes, and he's a saint. He's trying to paint himself as a saint, right? And what I said in, I think it was my Walking with Purpose stream yesterday or the day before, or it could have been in my in-studio stream yesterday. I can't remember. I said it. Okay. You know, he's trying to say that compared to other people right now, you're a saint. I'll say it again here. I was comparing you to that Florida woman that's been coming at me, that's a part of your group that works very closely with you and creates content acting in concert. Respectfully, maturely and professionally says 1. TS says 1. Thank you so much. Okay. So you would expect these people to back off, right? You would expect them to back off. He's not having them back off, because they all care more about how they come off than doing the right thing, right? But how did they get there in the first place? You know, how are they keeping this audience around that does donate to them at times, more so in the past than now, because they used to go a lot more crazy with my name and likeness and my content and all that, and they got more donations during that time. But because of this court case, they've slowed it down a little bit, but they haven't slowed it down completely. They're still trying to monetize it and use my name and likeness in kind of like more fair use, legitimate ways. They're trying to do that. But their audience is not buying it. Their audience is not there for the dumbed down version of presenting Eli content. Their audience is there when streams like the January 3rd, 2025 stream happens. They know that. The defendant knows that. So, I can't control people. I can't tell anyone what to do, let alone the defendant. All I can say is if I was in his shoes, I would have de-escalated a long time ago. First of all, I would never do this to anyone. But if I was doing what he was doing and got sued, I would immediately back off. He has not backed off. And all of this has been filed with the court. Like, there's so much evidence there. And he's going to continue to try to say that I saw some postings. I think ODN or someone else went and commented on a video that the defendant made saying that January 9th is happening or something like that, right? And he posted it didn't age well. So that's part of the reason why it continues. Sandra, before I get out of here, more specific, what specifically is part of the reason of why it continues? But anyway, you would think that he would de-escalate by now. I mean, we're at a point right now where the motion to dismiss / anti-SLAPP hearing is being moved to, well, it's going to happen in April. So that's, 3.5 months away. We have another hearing, January 3rd, Tuesday, January 3rd, over sanctions he's trying to put on me, and he's accusing me of spoliation of evidence and adverse inference, which is not true. I've already filed my response with the court. I've already offered him all the evidence from the videos that I had to put to private on YouTube. I offered him everything. And this guy never de-escalates. He's not reasonable. In my opinion, do I think he's always purposefully unreasonable? I think regarding certain things, at times, he's unreasonable on purpose, right? I call him the intentional contradictor at times, right? He does that for, entertainment and reactions. He tries to get reactions from people by saying the complete opposite of what's reasonable or what's true. Content save face, right? Well, I got to do the same thing, right, Sandra? Listen, if he's going to put that out about me, I'm going to calmly, professionally, and properly correct the record, right? But yeah, I'm wondering what's going to happen now. Now, there are other things going on in this community. I'm not going to address those here right now. I may address them another time. There are other things going on. But here's the thing. I really hope that this is the last time I have to correct the record. If he continues to spin lies about, what's going on, or if he's putting out my real videos using clips, which I don't have a problem if people use short clips to, do fair use commentary. But if he spins those out of context, I'm going to correct the record every time. That's how I'm going to do it. Because it does still affect me. And I'm no longer going to let anyone affect me and my good name. Am I perfect? No. I've made lots of mistakes, right? But those are in the past. This guy is continuing to live off the past because it's the only thing that keeps his audience around and keeps the large donations coming. And he was never going to stop that until going to court. Put a 1 in the chat. Put a 1 in the chat if you agree that the only way this was ever going to stop is going to court. I had no choice. I didn't want to go to court. No one ever wants to go to court, but you go to court as a last resort when you've exhausted all other options. And I've asked this guy many times over the years to back off and stop. And then he accuses me in one of his videos earlier this week that I've never asked him to stop. Come on, man. I'm going to prove you wrong. Why do you always say the opposite of what's true? Not always, but usually. Like I'd say 80% of the time, when it comes to myself or other people that you're creating content on to give it more of a shock factor to sell to your audience for donations, you always or usually say the opposite of what's true. You do that because you're trying to paint someone as the villain and that you are the one that's calling out the villain, and you are the one that's Superman flying around with your cape saving the world, when quite honestly, it's the complete opposite of that. It's absolutely the complete opposite of that. And that's where I'm going to wrap up this stream here today at 1 hour and 28 minutes. I'm just going to wait for the audience to respond, because there is a 1 minute delay between what I say and what goes out. Tia says like a million ones in the chat. A bunch of ones from Tia. I'm going to wait just another maybe 20 or 30 seconds or so. And then I'm going to get on out of here. Sandra says, I agree. Okay. All right. We're leaving 41 in the box. And yeah, I'll be back later this evening on this channel for a walk with purpose. I just heard the big dog in the other room jump at the TV. He probably saw something scary on the TV. The TV barker. All right. This is going to be 1 hour and 30 minutes exactly. Oh. Respectfully, maturely, freshly dawn says, one of her quotes here, little victories are proof that progress is happening even if it feels slow. Enjoy this beautiful day. One more time. That's very well said, babe. Little victories are proof that progress is happening even if it feels slow. Enjoy this beautiful day. Sandra says, I'd like to see him fly around. Yeah, me too. With that being said, have a good one. Take care. We'll see you all later tonight in a few hours for another Walking with Purpose stream. Have a good one. Take care. And as always, be good to each other.